Guys, for some reason my QuickTime Player screen recorder crashed. Loudly crying face. Loudly crying face. So the visual blacked out, but the last minutes of the podcast are the dopest because we're now totally warmed up and in our element. And this one too, we continue with our dope ass conversation. You do not want to miss it. $sign.
In an authentic, genuine way, try to make other people happier. And just because I felt like I was born in circumstances that other people weren't, that kind of facilitated that happiness. I feel like I should help others, try to make other people happy.
Absolutely, that is so good, and that is so comforting to know. For someone like if I'm like a new kid, right, in the block, and then in school, right, and I know that you're there, and your whole purpose, and that's how your vibe is. Everyone knows that. So how comforting it is for me as a new kid who's anxious as fuck. I don't know how people are mean and stuff. To know that there are people around to genuinely who care. In that sort of sense. And this whole logic about we don't know what people are going through that turn them into monsters or whatever. Joker's, the Batman Joker, his movie needs to come out. And they showed exactly that he was really, really bullied as a kid and went through such a bad childhood that it turned him into Joker. He wasn't like just, I'm gonna be Joker and fuck shit up, It was that whole process of being mistreated and things like that.
People are rude to you, you give someone a compliment and they roll their eyes or they're rude to you.
Yeah.
It's usually probably because they just had a bad day. You know what I mean? Or something went wrong during the day. You shouldn't judge people oh, that person's the worst person of all time. They probably went through some circumstances that made them like that. Like you said, no one's born happy or no one's born unhappy.
Yeah.
You're just born and then the circumstances, the environment that they grew up in defines who they are.
Absolutely. That's so cool. You're so cool. Any plans to make content and stuff and building brand and things like that?
Right now on TikTok, I'm trying to see if I could post some funny videos here and there and try and build a brand there because it's just so underpriced.
Yeah.
So really just TikTok.
What about YouTube?
A little bit here and there. When I was younger, 14, I did these Minecraft videos with my little brother. And the angle was they had no bad words. So here's the thing. My brother was 6 or so. He would watch these YouTubers who would play video games, but they would swear like sailors. Every other word was a swear word, right?
Yeah.
And so my mom was like, hey, you're pretty young, you shouldn't be listening to those kind of bad words. And so I thought, why don't we just record me and him, upload it, and just watch our videos that have no bad words. Turns out hundreds of thousands of other kids have that same problem. Right? So the YouTube channel is called Little Man Plays Video Games. We haven't uploaded it.
Wait, is it the one that has a link to your Instagram? You have a link on your Instagram bio.
Yeah. I don't think that one's... No, that one's not it.
There's a video that has 14 million views. Is that you?
No, that one is... I think it was a video I found interesting. Oh, yeah. That one's a funny, Hispanic meme.
Okay.
It's not me. But no, the YouTube channel it's not huge, but we had a few 100,000 view videos back in 2013.
Yeah. Which
is really, really cool. So we're trying to see if we can maybe build that up a little bit. But I just want to try and build content, maybe a little bit for myself, but for other people too, small businesses. For myself, probably on TikTok.
Yeah, because, in our conversation, you've said so much dope stuff. And you can literally film that into pieces of content, like your why, you're making people happy, why, right? And at the same time, you have these concrete as business advices, where you're not giving advice, you're actually sharing, okay, I read the Rich Dad Poor Dad, this is what I picked up on, For someone who might not want to go read the book, these are your interpretations. And then your, how you can apply it in your life and things like that. You're kind of documenting your process. And you have such a great personality, so it definitely communicates through the camera. And people would really love that. So I think YouTube is one of the most powerful platforms because you really get to know the person and it drives conversions and everything like crazy.
YouTube is great. You have a TikTok?
No.
You should look into it. You should really look into it. There's some videos. Gary had a few videos that hit a million views on TikTok, and it's so crazy to me how organic reach is just so crazy on TikTok. Like, TikTok is just distributing everyone's content.
He's really been advocating. My introduction to TikTok was just random funny kids making weird videos. That's all I knew. And I was like, wait, this is not for us. It's for like.
And what's funny is, like, you know, these are young kids on TikTok.
Yeah.
You know, if you go to TikTok, Gary's TikTok, and you look at the comments, it's all these kids. Hey, like, why is this old guy yelling at me? Like, hey, like, what is this? Why is this guy like so angry? Like, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of people don't understand Gary's team is still trying to figure out how to push the brand on TikTok. But I think we've kind of figured it out. But like motivational, like rah-rah stuff doesn't perform as well because, you know, these are young kids. Like, they're not really looking for that yet.
Yeah.
But if you post like the funny, like garage sailing stuff, like
where he was eating like a lot of blueberries and he's like, count how many items, just random things like that.
Funny stuff will probably perform a little bit better than like motivational rah-rah stuff.
I see. Yeah. And you were part of the TikTok team? No.
So I did a Team GARYVee TikTok. So I helped run the team. We had like the Team GARYVee handle. We helped the Team GARYVee handle on TikTok. And so when I kind of started playing around with that, it's like, wow, this is like a huge platform that if you capitalize on like the trends and like you have a good personality, you could really like do very well on TikTok. You know?
Interesting.
Especially music.
Music.
That's
Yeah. That's cool. Alex, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We've had like such an incredible conversation.
Yes.
And you were so amazing. Thank you. I'm always like nervous when I have people on because you just don't know what it's gonna be like. But it was super, super amazing. I'll ask you 2 last questions. I'm so sorry. But what made you say yes to the podcast? And do you think in the whole journey of the podcasting, do you think I could have done something better or something like that?
So why did I say yes to the podcast? When someone reaches out and wants you on a podcast, you're like, whoa, okay, that's kind of interesting. I'm on like a podcast and someone wants to be on the top, wants to talk. So I thought that was interesting. And then something you can do better, I think you have a really good outgoing personality and you're really good at engaging and interacting. So like this whole thing, I mean, this is going 2 hours, right?
Yeah.
Like the whole time, it was just a conversation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that's what you did super well. Because a lot of times people come in and like they have like they know exactly what they want to ask and they don't make it a conversation. It's just like it's just back and forth. Making it a conversation and what you could hear is just so. That's what I was really interested in, is just having a conversation.
Yeah.
You know, making a podcast a conversation. That's why Joe Rogan is killing on podcasts.
Yeah.
Is because if you look at his podcast, he's able to make his guests so comfortable and just have a conversation instead of, you know, like an interview, you know, where you have to be all stand up and you have to, you know, like talk in a certain way, you know, just a conversation. And you executed on that brilliantly.
Thank you. I feel like I was really, really interested in getting to know people. So the kind of questions I framed up weren't like very straightforward questions. Because I was interested, I was able to frame up questions like, you know, what's your story? So you can't just give me a direct answer like boom. You know, you obviously are going to touch on some topics that I would add to, you would add to. And for some reason, the kind of questions I ask you, you would remember that, okay, this is the kind of conversation that we had. You know, if I would ask you just internships and business related questions, you might forget that. But once you're able to connect with people with their personal lives and things like, are you happy? Because I've had like the most interesting conversations by asking people, are you happy, you know? Then they ask me, and if I'm like, yes or no, it just goes on to like a whole different tangent. So I'm so happy that you liked it. And do you think
What am I? How many podcasts have you done?
I have done almost 18.
18?
Yeah. And I started this February.
You started in February?
Yeah.
It's just you think you've gotten better from the first to the 18?
Of course, 100%.
So think about once you're at 8 and like 9, like just keep going, like more, and then you'll just get better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even just podcasting, even just talking with people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you look at Gary's first wine library video versus how he talks now.
Yeah, super. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Like reps more, like.
You know, the thing was that I really wanted to go out in the real world and do shit. I've just been for a long time just a consumer, you know. It was business books, it was videos, and I really consume Gary so differently than how other people would, you know. Like I'm here literally with a pen and paper, noting shit down, you know, so I can remember. Things are stuck up on the wall, things I need to execute on. And because I spoke with so many random people who also consumed him, I found them on Gary's comment section. Whoever he would reply to, I would DM them and be like, hey, are you like-minded? Let's connect and shit like that. And so many people really agreed with what he does, obviously, but very few people were executing on what he was saying. Initially, my plan with the podcast was to find people and create a team where I would build my audience, they would build their audience, and we would collaborate. You know, for example, I have 1,000 followers, and these guys have 1,000 followers, right? We do a collaboration. That's a potential reach to 2,000 people, right? And now I have 5 people doing that, right? So I'm going, replying to comments and engaging with hashtags, increasing my followers by 100. Let's say in the best possible scenario, 5 people are doing it for me. That's 500, and I'm doing it for them. You know, kind of create that shit. But I was in a wave of creating content and stuff, but then no one kind of followed up. No one. So that was something I understood, that this necessarily doesn't work. You know, when I was like, I can just build up online and create a brand and thrive off of that. That is why I was really like, I need to, and so many podcasts I had, I felt like people really connected with me as a person, that they would want to work with me and things like that, that I felt like how I would actually outperform in the real world. You know what I'm saying? It became a lot of consumption and the fucking computer and books instead of real human interaction. You like, we could have a fire chat right now, right? But then you're back to your life and I'm back to mine, and then we forget about it, right? But if we met in person and we had an idea, we'd be like, let's meet like next Friday or whatever, and like just get shit done. That's a whole different wave. So even though the podcast was something when I have nothing going on, this is what I'm trying to focus on. But it's more about even empowering young people, you know, like instead of cold emailing you, I don't know how you would have received that. But now we sat on a podcast. It's a visual thing. We can see each other. It's a different kind of relationship we build instead of just cold emailing people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. That was a lot of the purpose behind the podcast. And the last thing was, is it something that I can add value in? I don't know. Anything that you think?
You're coming to LA in November?
Yes.
I'm trying to see how I can help build this like clientele base.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it is just trying to find people to help me with. So right now, I have a friend that's like trying to help me build this up. Yeah. If we need anything, I will 100% reach out. When you're in LA, you should reach out.
Absolutely. I'll just tell you one small thing, right? Just an experience. I was having a podcast and it went kind of not bad, but just funny vibes, right? So this guy was like, he just quit his job and he was consuming Gary and things like that. So I reached out to him and we were having a conversation. And I was like, okay, now that you quit your job, what are you doing? So he says that he's doing his own thing. I was like, that's great. What are you doing? So he basically wanted to be like a marketing person, right? Running ads on Facebook and things like that, right? So I was like, and he's cold calling people and trying to create his clientele. And I was like, have you done it yourself before? And he said no. And I was like, do you have any experience in it? He said no. So immediately there was a funny, weird, I won't say red flag. It was just like, what are you doing, you know? Because it's like, if I'm a client, I'm giving you my money. You don't even know what you're doing. You're experimenting with my money. I'm not sure how much success is he going to find. Whereas if he had already taken, say $50 of his, right? Just running a successful ad that I can, these $50 that I'm spending actually leads to some kind of conversion. Using that to genuinely help people instead of just creating clients. That is something a lot of people you will find on Instagram they're doing, who are trying to sell their courses and everything. And it's just a big facade. And once you talk to people, any person who's slightly smart would understand do you know what you're talking about, or and also your intent, right? I might give you my money out of no, I wouldn't say uneducated, like not being aware, but it's just a really, I don't know, it's a bad situation.
People that don't know what they're doing and they're just trying to like build something, they should just do it for free. You know what I mean? Just be upfront and say, look, I'm trying to learn. I know a thing or two.
Yeah.
But let me just try and see if I can help your business. I won't do anything. If I help, it's great. If I don't, then I didn't lose anything. I did it for free.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like just getting those experiences too, and like, yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. And then there were two people who I spoke with. Two of them, both of them were building their own media agency, something like Gary has, but obviously on a very small scale. And they started out the same, just alone. And I have one of the podcasts up, and the second one would go up. And they just created their team, and they were just doing content. So like, if you're a business, I would create videos and photos for you and market it that way. They weren't basically running ads, but they were just adding as a media agency. So are you trying to do the media thing? Or are you trying to do the taking the dollars and marketing that thing?
Strategy, mainly strategy. So the reason why I wanted to start this whole D-Rock, you're familiar, you know D-Rock,
yeah.
Right? D-Rock has this post on Instagram where he posts a picture or something, and he says in the captions, you know what I'm talking about? This post is for you. Network in the comments.
Oh yeah, I've seen them.
Should be familiar with those. So he does those posts like I think once a month where a bunch of people go in the comment section and they say what they want, what they do, and then you know other people reach out to them and say, hey, I'm what you're looking for, whatever.
Yeah.
So I comment saying, you know, I was an intern for Team Gary and I'm trying to see how I can help small businesses grow on social, right? So then D-Rock replied to my comment and basically co-signed me and said like, hey, this is like the best intern, like he knows what he's doing, he's really, really smart and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so that got some traction. So I had like 12 people reach out to me asking me what my rates were.
Yeah.
Like how much do I charge? And I'm like, and this was like the first time I was like, hey, wait a minute, I don't even know how to price myself.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
You guys are asking what my rates are. And so I didn't want to charge them a crazy amount of money. I wanted to do something that got me moderately excited, but was reasonable for them to work with. You know what I mean? Because I didn't want to overprice myself, because honestly, like, probably not worth that much, but I wanted to just do strategy, and I wanted to take clients that I know I'll be able to help, right? So, like, if there's a client that has a business and they're, like, just kind of starting up and, like, I don't really think that the product is good and I don't think I'll be able to help market it, I probably wouldn't want to take them on as a client. Only people that I know for a fact they're getting worth way more than what I charge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would say it's mainly just strategy, trying to do paid content for them, trying to figure out underpriced attention, do a lot of community management for it. What happened?
You said paid this thing, so is that ads? Running ads?
Paid ads and organic growth. So like, trying to find platforms, LinkedIn maybe for those small businesses, trying to see how they can go on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Trying to find platforms and ways that I can help them in an extremely undervalued way and see what comes on there.
I recently, so it was just a random argument I had with a friend, but I was like, wait, there's something real there, where she was like, if people would pick me over a college graduate and shit like that, right? So I was like, all right, the way I would pitch myself is that in the end, people want results. They really don't care about your degree, even though they might want it on the surface level, What if this person has all the degrees, but I give you results, right? So I would ask your revenue, what is your average revenue? So, if you're saying you're doing $10,000, and I would be like, to have no like loss or no profit, like in the best case scenario, you have a $10,000 revenue system, right? And after me coming on the team, whatever additional revenue you have, I want my percentage from that. You're not paying me, you're not doing anything. Only if you actually get an increase, that is when you pay me. That is when you can be a little, like take 40% or something, in the beginning, because you work for free or whatever. And then you can have your charges. So once that strategy works out, also you generally build this trust between the person, right? Whether you're able to do it, whether you aren't. But
nothing to lose, right? If you, I mean, it's really if you would do that, it's really you that could take the loss, right? Like, if you just throw them at all, then you just, I guess, wasted your time. Maybe you learned a thing or two, but you quote unquote wasted your time. And you really have to try to put the other person in a position where they feel like they're not going to lose anything.
Yeah, and not just feel like it, they shouldn't. You know what I'm saying? Because when I was speaking with this guy, I felt so bad. And that is why our podcast was just such a downhill conversation from there. I just couldn't speak to him after that. I was like, hey, what TV shows do you like? I'm like, fuck. Because I was just appearing too cynical. And he was like, he quit his job. I was like, fuck, I cannot be this person, right? But, yeah, you know, like I wasn't sure if his intent was good. You know, like you're playing with someone else's money. And even people running small businesses, their whole livelihood could depend on that, you know? It's not some random shit we're trying to play with. So, yeah, maybe you could do something like that, you know, when you reach out to these small businesses and be like, you know, if they feel a little cynical about payments and stuff, you'd be like, you know, first month, if you see some revenue or whatever, if you see some like genuine results, then I would take this percentage of it or whatever. And if they do not feel comfortable showing you their books, then you can just be like, you know, I charge so much. Don't short sell yourself. Don't short sell yourself.
100%. Yeah, and it's been kind of interesting trying to find that balance of like, okay, I don't want to short sell myself, but I also don't want to like overcharge for something.
But are you confident in your abilities? You know, you telling me D-Rock said that they're the best you have. Now I don't have your word. I kind of have his word, right? He obviously knows he's saying something.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. Those people that reached out already knew that D-Rock had vouched for.
Yeah. And not just them. I'm talking about you as a person. Like, it's not that he said that, right? He said it. You're the best. Yeah. Gary hired you on a phone call. I'm speaking with you. There's obviously something there, right? So you start off a good start because now you're not kind of playing themselves or whatever. You're confident in your abilities and you take that too. And you're such a like nice person. I'm sure like even in the work environment, you're so nice to be around. So that adds on to it. So don't short sell yourself. Be like, I worked here. You lived in New York, right? You paid for your place and everything. All that needs to come in account in your pricing because there's obviously a cost that went into your learning and gaining the experience, right? Like I'm fucking like learning everything for free, right? For me, it's just the time I've invested. But for you, you've actually made like some sort of investments. So take that into account and be confident in yourself. You know, like D-Rock said, Gary said. I also remember, how I reached out to you was one of Gary's employees who was very close to him. I'm not sure what his name is, but he posted a picture with you and someone else, and he said these were the best interns I have or something like that.
Oh, that probably was Justin Novello.
Yes.
Works for Gary's influencer team. It sounds like, I think he posted something like that,
right? That's how. So see, there's so many people who obviously saw something in you, right? So just take that and leverage that to get like a better shit thing done. You know?
I agree.
Dope.
Yep.
So when I come to LA, I'll definitely reach out and see whatever we can do.
Please seriously reach out. This is a really great conversation.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy you enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Have the great rest of the day and probably see you soon.
Thank you so much. Seriously though, reach out, okay? Have a great day.
I will. Thank you. Bye.